Harry Reid wasn't very impressed with what Ted Cruz did. Much of the media not very impressed with Ted Cruz's antics. Many conservatives also not happy with him. First and foremost, a man with a very spotty record in terms of being on the right side of an issue. John McCain spoke out against Ted Cruz's filibuster today. Let's listen.
And I think it's a disservice to those who stood up and shouted at the top of their lungs that we cannot appease and that we must act. And we did act. And it's a disservice to those who did act. Now, I spoke to Senator Cruz about my dissatisfaction about his use of this language, and he said he only intended it to be applied to pundits and not to members of the Senate. I find that a difference without a distinction. Because I have an open and honest disagreement with the process of not agreeing to move forward with legislation which I agree with, which was passed through the House of Representatives, and comparing it to those who were the appeasers, as Senator Cruz described them, is an inappropriate place for debate.
So there, John McCain doesn't agree with the actual tactic, and he also has a problem with some of the rhetoric. I don't think that we've played you the sort of Nazi references that he made. Just avoid them altogether. Ted Cruz, liberals, conservatives, everybody, don't bring up Hitler. Okay, there were terrible historic figures, from farther back that would offend less people. Just don't bring it up. And so he's not happy with what Ted Cruz did, and it's not because these conservatives are fans of Obamacare. Almost uniformly, they are opponents of it, and they do want to get rid of it. They want to defund it, perhaps replace it, perhaps just repeal it. They're not fans of it. They just think that this was a pointless tactic. And so another example of this is Representative Peter King, not a man that we agree with very often. But he thinks that this is not the way to go about it. So he says, I still think we should try to repeal the bill. But if you repeal it the same way, but you should repeal it the same way you passed it. You get bills through both houses of Congress and you get the president to sign it. The only way we are going to do that is by electing more Republicans and winning the presidential election. Now, I don't think that they're going to be able to do that, but that is how you would actually pass a repeal of it, not the way that Ted Cruz wants to do. Ted Cruz likes to pretend as if we have not already had a vote in the Senate and in the House and a signature on this bill, as if we have not already had national elections in the wake of it, which we'll come back to eventually. He thinks that this is the way to do it. And honestly, if you agree with Representative Peter King and you think that Obamacare needs to be repealed, and you agree that that's the way to do it, to win one, possibly two more elections, get more, I guess more Republicans in the House, definitely more in the Senate, perhaps elect a Republican president, and then actually replace it, then this is no way to go about this. Because if you need to win those elections, you can't have a man who had sort of the aura of being a moderate, aside from the Hobbit homes, going up there, making an idiot of himself, making the Republicans seem even more like obstructionists and extremists than they already were. That is going to damage them going into at least the midterm elections. I don't know if this will have long-term implications in terms of his presidential run, or that it could be used against any other Republicans in the next presidential election, but it's certainly doing them no benefits now. And look, like we said, Peter King, don't agree with him often. John McCain, I mean, he's a real politician. Like he's a guy you can agree with on some issues, not agree with on others. Major warmonger, okay, and he did a huge disservice to the country by bringing Sarah Palin into the national spotlight. But I like that at least in this case they're being responsible. They're not simply lining up behind Ted Cruz like Lee and Paul to some extent and McConnell, who didn't show up for the actual filibuster but was speaking about it positively after the fact. These are actual responsible politicians. Now, Peter King did go on to say that what he was engaging in, Ted Cruz, was governmental terrorism. You're losing me a bit at that point, but you have to be fair. I mean, Peter King has not had any experience in the past of being a responsible politician, and so he's cracking under the pressure. But I do agree with much of the rest of what he said, and I think that if Ted Cruz was being honest and was actually doing what he thought would be best to get rid of this bill, he would not have engaged in these antics. He would do legislatively and electorally what is necessary to make sure that it's repealed. But he chose to go in a different direction.